Hi friends. I know I said I'd be teaching you live today, and instead I'm doing it through the video, and that's because I have some news to share with you. The news is that unfortunately I have to say goodbye to all of you and end my time as your art teacher at Swift River School. This makes me so sad, and I wish it wasn't the case. It's because I have some family needs going on right now that I need to take care of, and unfortunately I can't do both teaching and take care of those family needs. So I've made the hard decision to say goodbye and to teach only 2 more weeks through video. The thing I want you to know is that you all mean so much to me, and you've really inspired me with your artful ways and your art hearts. So for today, I'm going to move on and we're going to teach the lesson, and we're still going to have these 2 weeks together. And then next week, when I see you again, it will be the real goodbye. I will tell you that I'll always accept photographs of your artwork. I will leave my email address with Principal Sullivan, so you can reach out to me if you want to and share some work with me. And of course, if we see each other on the street, it will be so nice to have that art hello. Okay, so moving on. Today, we're going to read a book and do an art project. As promised, I want to learn more about artists that have made art before us, or even right now as we speak. And this artist that we're going to learn more about is an artist called Frank Lloyd Wright. And the book is called Prairie Boy. Frank Lloyd Wright turns the heartland into a home. It's written by Barb Rosenstock, and the art is by Christopher Silas Neal. And something I notice about, well, is there anything you notice about the cover? If we were in school, I would ask you, like, raise your hand and tell me something that you notice. Because I can't hear you, I'm going to point out some things I notice, which are the shapes. So this field, they're all rectangles, and I even see triangles, and I see the tree as a circle, and even this house is made out of shapes. I wonder if these like geometric shapes were important to Frank Lloyd Wright. Let's find out. The end pages are yellow. Prairie Boy. When Frank's father needed work, the family moved from Wisconsin, then moved again 5 times in 7 years. Frank wound up near the rocky coast of Massachusetts. What? Looking out at gray skies, gray houses, and gray people, turning 9 years old with a heart still aching for the shapes of the heartland. Wait a minute. I don't know if we're all always so monocolored, which means one color. I think we have a lot of variety and diversity in color. That's just speaking as a Massachusetts dweller. But this is the story of Frank Lloyd Wright, right? So maybe that's how he was feeling. To cheer him up, oh, and also moving is hard, right? So sometimes when we move to certain places, it brings out some feelings. So it sounds like Frank Lloyd Wright was maybe feeling just kind of bummed to have moved from his place that he loved so much. To cheer him up, Frank's mother brought him a gift, a smooth maple box. He slid off the cover and found 3 plain wood blocks, a cube, a sphere, and a cylinder. Under the blocks lay a set of dowel rods and 3 lengths of ordinary string. Frank set up the rods like a mast and hung the blocks from the strings. He spun the blocks, first slow, then fast, and faster still. Like magic, the spinning cube changed to a cylinder. The spinning cylinder changed to a sphere, and Frank understood that all shapes are connected in ways that made his head spin too. So he's interested in shapes. More blocks from Mother. Rectangles, triangles, half moons. Frank set these new shapes on paper grids, studied sample pictures of pinwheels, crosses, and stars. He shifted one shape to the next, turning piece by piece, his mind like a kaleidoscope, his fingertips mesmerized, smooth faces and sharp edges, memorized smooth faces and sharp edges until the shapes felt like home. This reminds me of two things. One is like when you all are collaging in class, or like when you're making those sculptural projects and you're all just choosing different shapes and pieces, or choosing different pieces for your collage, and I'm witnessing it as a teacher and watching you really investigate. Thousands of shapes kept Frank company until his family returned to Wisconsin. 12-year-old Frank nailed fences and milked cows on his uncle's farm. He flew kites. Oh, so here we see shapes, the fence. He flew kites and sang around the piano with school friends. I love the way this artist captures how every object is this unique shape. He collected dried weed pods and painted prairie landscapes in his attic bedroom. As a teenager, Frank built big dreams. He wanted to draw and think about shapes all of the time. He wanted to be an architect. Architect is an artist. I know we know that an architect designs buildings, or maybe you didn't, and that's what an architect's job is. But an architect, sometimes people don't always put that job in the category of being an artist, and they are. They totally are. They're designing a giant sculpture, which is a building, right? I just love this artwork so much. Frank moved to Chicago, the prairie's biggest city, where buildings grew like wild oats. He spent 6 years learning from famous architects, sketching detailed plans for the expensive houses they designed. He watched rows of fancy houses go up on flat prairie lots. Greek Revival, Victorian, Romanesque, Italianate, houses shaped like Irish castles, built next to houses shaped like French churches. Everyone thought these houses were beautiful. Everybody except Frank. So those are all names of kinds of houses. So Victorian is a kind of architectural style. So all of these houses are these certain architectural styles, but what Frank Lloyd Wright is saying, none of them appealed to him. Now, I have to say, I think these are kind of beautiful houses. I mean, really beautiful houses. But for Frank Lloyd Wright, it wasn't what his mind was focused on. Let's see why. He thought those fashionable houses stuck out like whales in a wheat field. Frank wondered what made the outsides look crowded. Was it the turrets? The finials? So these are all, that's a turret. And finials, these are all parts of houses. Dormers, which are parts that stick out. Or the yellow, green, and blue paint. Frank wondered what made the insides look cramped. Was it the overdressed windows that shut out the sun, or the boxy rooms stuffed upstairs and down? This is a cool picture. To Frank, the old European-style houses didn't fit America's landscape. Families were changing. Household inventions like washers, vacuums, and electric lights meant that families had more time for fun. Frank wondered, what if he designed a new kind of house to fit this new American family? That looks like his blueprint. He left his good job and opened his own office. Frank Lloyd Wright architect. He sketched long rectangular houses that snuggled into the flat plains. He colored them in reds and browns and golds. He hid the front doors from the street, making the houses' vertical lines disappear by coloring mortar to match the brick. He created banks of windows that let in waves of light, designing winding paths to follow, and built wide, cozy hearths where families laughed together. So instead of those Victorian-style houses that he was noticing popping up everywhere, this is the shape that Frank Lloyd Wright was interested in. And I thought you could just, if we take a second to look, I'm wondering what you're noticing about the difference between the two styles is. Some of the differences. I'm noticing that the Victorian style houses, older style houses, have these lots of triangles and peaks, right? And the turrets, like the author was talking about. But Frank Lloyd Wright's house has this very low, long, rectangular look. Even the windows are all rectangular. I didn't see any windows like that on the other house. And this just is that like low, flat instead of the tall. Do we see any triangles? Let me know if you see any. I know you can't tell me now, but you could tell me on the Google form that I'll put in Google Classroom. Frank Lloyd Wright turned architecture inside out. He designed houses, furniture, sometimes even matching clothes. Like magic, he shook dozens of shapes from his shirt sleeves: ovals, hexagons, triangles, cubes, spheres, cylinders. In Frank's houses, people stood on shapes. They sat on shapes. They slept on shapes. They looked through shapes, ate off of shapes, played by shape light. Frank's buildings grew naturally like children, like grasses, like the earth itself. What a pretty, this is a fireplace. So pretty. He called them prairie houses and spun the shapes he loved into America's homes. Hold on, I'm having a hard time turning this page. There. So these are the author's notes, which I'm not going to read all of them to you, but I will show you that these are some of Frank Lloyd Wright's most famous architectural masterpieces, and he's a very famous architect. You'll probably hear about him again, in the future. So here is a house called Falling Water, and that's a home. And look how it's built into the cliffs to almost look like it's just part of that waterfall. Isn't that amazing? And I just love how the focal point is sort of just this little thin strip of rock in between all of those trees. Here's an example of a building. And you can see there are the circles. Look at that, that's an inside part. It's called the Guggenheim Museum in New York City. So that's a museum. You wind up, I've been to it. You wind around, 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 up, 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 up. So the whole time you're in the museum, you're so cognizant, you're so aware of the fact that you're in a circle. And so I always think that's interesting because Frank Lloyd Wright was so aware of shapes. He wanted us as people who went to this museum to also be thinking about shapes. The end. So friends, I was thinking what I'd like you to do is if you could maybe pull up a picture of one of Frank Lloyd Wright's architectural pieces. So you could use the internet with maybe a helping hand from someone if you need a little help. A lot of you will be fine, but I know sometimes the search is a little bit hard. And see, once you pull it up, find one that's inspiring to you and sort of look at it and think about the shapes and all of the ways they've been used. And then maybe what I was thinking is you could draw one house that is sort of like a house you'd see around here. It could be one of the kinds that has the big pointy roof. It could be, maybe it looks a little like Frank Lloyd Wright's house because you know the houses he built, because you know what? His style influenced a lot of builders. So builders here are now influenced by Frank Lloyd Wright from years ago. So you probably have seen houses around here that kind of have that feeling. So maybe just draw a house that you see when you drive around, and then draw a house as an architect, as if you are someone who's designing a building, and think about using shapes when you do it, like the way Frank Lloyd Wright did, and sort of draw your dream house that you would design either for yourself or someone you loved. So first, sort of sketch a house, just to recap. First, sketch a house that you might have seen before. Maybe it's your own house, maybe it's your next door neighbor's house. Then, on the other side of the paper, sketch a house that you design, so not one that you've seen before, just one in your own head, using shapes like rectangles, triangles, squares. Think about how they work together to build houses and buildings. If you have a fine line marker, you can go over your pencil lines with fine line, and then if you have anything to color it in, color them in. Give them some color. And remember, you can, because you're an artist, if the house that you're thinking of is really tan, but you want to make that house turquoise, you can, because you're the artist. I'd love to see photographs of your architecture. You can load them up on your Google form. You can watch a little bit of this next video of me drawing my two houses. Have fun and send your artwork my way. I'll be back next week with more.